Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Import Platform, Facebook Live from 3 Impest Trade Academy. My name is Dele Ayimibo. We continue our conversation from where we stopped yesterday evening. We concluded indirect export yesterday, and today we'll be starting direct. Remember, we are looking at AFCFTA, the what, the why, and how to export to Nigeria. And this session is basically assuming you are an importer if you are in Nigeria, or you are an exporter if you are in other part of Africa. And one of the markets under the AFCFTA is Nigeria, considering the fact that Nigeria is the most populous black nation on earth. And it's been said that for every 4 black people you see, or 5 black people you see, one of them is a Nigerian. And that's why we've been talking about this, so that why Nigeria also is gearing and preparing and getting ready to be able to take advantage of the AFCFTA. I'm very much aware that a lot of other African countries also will not mind coming into Nigeria. And that's the reason why this has been on. So we'll be looking at indirect export, and for indirect basically means you are looking for who to work with in your country to be able to ship to Nigeria. An agent, a distributor, a merchant, a broker, a traveling salesperson, cooperative export, export management company, confirming house, and a number of other examples that we gave in the beginning of the week. I've been talking about this. Like I said, today I'm looking at direct export. Direct export. Under direct export, I'll be looking at a number of options that are available for you to be able to ship your products to Nigeria. You know, the difference between direct and indirect is that in indirect, you are not doing the shipment as an exporter in your country. If you are shipping to Nigeria, you are not doing the shipment. You are engaging a middleman, an intermediary, someone else in between that is working with you to look for the market and to do the actual shipment, to do documentation, basically handling a lot of stuff for you. But if you are doing direct, you are actually working with someone in the export market. You are working with someone in the export market, and that makes a lot of difference between you and indirect, because now you are taking a bigger responsibility. Remember, there are 3 objectives you have when you are trying to go into export market. Remember, 3 objectives you must have. And the 3 objectives you have entry into export market basic. After 3 options rather available to you, remember they include export mode, partnership mode, and hierarchical or investment mode. Export mode, you do the export yourself. Partnership mode, you partner with someone at the destination to sell at the destination. And it can be a strategic alliance, like a joint venture, like contracting, like licensing. And then you can have the investment mode, in which you go into that place yourself and do everything yourself without having to do deal with any middleman. So depending on your objective, for bigger companies, they are more comfortable because they want to have a control of the market. They are more comfortable doing investment mode. But for smaller organizations, SMEs, some of them will consider export mode. As a matter of fact, if you are starting as exporter, everybody will do export mode. But what I've discussed in the last few days is discussing direct and indirect option of export mode. And I was talking about option you can deploy if you are coming into Nigeria. I am of the opinion that if you are coming into Nigeria, an export and a direct export mode might be a better option than indirect. Reason why I'm saying that is you need someone that have a good understanding of what's happening on ground, what's on ground. You need someone that have a full understanding of what is happening in Nigeria. So if you are working with someone who reside in Kenya or in Ethiopia or in other parts of the world, without having someone on ground, I don't know how easy that would be for you to be able to penetrate the Nigerian market. I don't know how easy that would be for you. I'm of the opinion that you should really consider a direct export. Now, what we'll be discussing today basically is looking at some of the things you should look at if you're trying to get someone, for example. What are some of the things you should consider as you look for such buyers, look for such partners in Nigeria? And there's so many companies you can work with actually to be able to get this, and so many companies you can work with in Nigeria to be able to get this done. Direct exporting occurs when an exporter or manufacturer sells directly to an importer or buyer located in a foreign market. Thus, the actual transaction flow between the nation is handled directly by a dependent organization of the manufacturer or a foreign-based marketing organization or customer. So what basically happens is, if I'm doing direct exports, the handling of marketing, the handling of pre-export documentation, the handling of logistics, the handling of almost every activity in my country will be handled by a dependent organization. Sometimes it can be an in-house export department. Sometimes it can be a subsidiary is into export. But whatever the case is, I have a part of my organization who is either a department, a unit, a subsidiary that is going to handle that export. Who is either a unit or a subsidiary that is going to handle that export. Now, what that means basically is that I will need to work with someone in the export market to be able to deal. So I might be selling through an agent in the export market, or I'm selling to a merchant in the export market. I'm basically saying that if you're trying to enter Nigerian market, in my opinion, a direct export mode look more like it. Because for direct export mode also, you have some level of control. You have a level of control. What I mean by that is this. You know, in indirect, you need to go and look for someone already existing. So if your country is not so big and it's such that you're not able to get such, because I mean, a lot of African countries in the real sense of the word, no matter the way we have Nigeria, we are still doing a lot better. And when I try to compare Nigeria, I don't like compare Nigeria with other African countries because we are larger in size. We have a lot of things going for us than a lot of African countries. So we should be far ahead. I mean, imagine South Africa, I think about 60 or 70 million people, and Nigeria over 200 million people, and South African GDP is very close to Nigeria. And I often say that the reason why South African GDP is lower than Nigeria is because of our population, because consumption is a component of GDP. It's a component of GDP. If not for the population of Nigeria, South Africa will have taken over everything, because in almost every other indices, apart from GDP and population is the one driving the GDP in terms of consumption. Import volume, South Africa is higher than Nigeria. Export volume, South Africa is higher than Nigeria. Per capita income, South Africa is higher than Nigeria. Competitive index, South Africa is higher than Nigeria. In almost all the indices of human development, of national development, South Africa is higher than Nigeria. So Nigeria being high is not because in GDP overall volume, it's not because we have done anything great, but because, I mean, if you go and check the budget of South Africa also, we are doing how much? 10 trillion. 10 trillion is just about how many billion? $10 billion. $1 billion is 3.6, 360. So $10 billion is 3.6, about $30 billion. Our GDP, our budget is about $30 billion. Whereas some countries are doing 50 billion, 100 billion. You know, anyway, don't let me even compare that with other developed countries. Let me restrict myself to Africa in using that metrics. Thus, the actual transaction flow between nations is handled directly by a dependent organization of the manufacturer or foreign-based market organization. As shown in one of the discussions I've had before, a manufacturer can export directly to a buyer domiciled in the foreign market in many ways. They are different in many ways. If I'm exporting I can export to an agent in the foreign market, and that agent will sell to a merchant through that agent I'll be able to sell to the end user. I can export to a merchant in the foreign market, and the merchant will sell to the end user, and I can export directly to the end user in the foreign market. So there are different options available for me, but what happened in this case is that I'll be shipping directly into the export market. Although discussion I've had in the past on the alternative method of direct export, we look at each of them individually. In addition to being alternative, they are also complementary. In all the options we look at in the past, if I'm shipping through an agent, I'm shipping through a merchant, I can go through an agent and the agent go through a merchant. I can go through a merchant, and the merchant eventually go through an agent before you go to the end users. But whatever the case is, each of the options I have to explore is complementary. Entry modes should not be viewed as sacred. When conditions change, so should the channel or the entry mode. In a more general sense, the changing export arrangement is evidence that export development occur in stages as seen in the next discussion. Now, in development for export market, it occurs in stages, and some people have proposed 6 stages in going into direct export. 6 stages. Now, these 6 stages does not mean that everybody will go through the chain from one to the other. It's just saying that, look, if you are going to export market, most likely you will have to go through these stages. It might not be stepwise as described. It might not be stepwise as described, but what is important is that you are still going to have to go through these stages one way or the other. Like I said, it might not be in the exact terms, in terms of the stepwise manner in which it happened. It might not be in the exact terms, in terms of the stepwise manner in which it happened. The first one is no interest in export, rather. No interest in export. So every business that export today, apart from people that set up, some people set out from the onset with a strategy to export. Some set out with a desire to sell in the local market. So many, no interest to export. Then the next thing after a while is filling unsolicited order. Let me tell you how this could happen. I've had a case where a lady who sells pap, by the way, that's the pap we export, she supply a company locally in Nigeria, and this company she supplies in Nigeria basically sell to ShopRite, a supermarket store in Nigeria. Someone came from Germany, maybe for holiday, or came to visit his people in Nigeria living abroad, and so I think France, not Germany or France. He saw the product and loved it. She bought it and took it to her country where she lives, and she tried to sell, and the response, the interest were amazing. I know what she did. She called the number on the pack, spoke to the manufacturer in Nigeria directly. That is a typical example of unsolicited order. I'm not willing to sell, I'm not interested in selling, someone just saw it and eventually showed interest. Another example is a lady. The lady sells bag. She sells bag, leather bag, hand-woven leather bag. And she told me that sometimes she would just be in train in London, in US, in other European countries, and other lady would just see the bag and said, sorry, where did you get this bag from? And she said, I made it. Are you interested? I can make it for you. So the product is already selling itself, and she's feeling, and she told me at the last time I met her at a program at Lagos Business School, and she was saying that, look, I now want to be, before I've been an accidental exporter. Now I want to be a deliberate exporter. You know, like, so now she's a politician, so she's now a deliberate public servant. So she was an accidental exporter. She's selling her product locally. People saw it on Instagram, they saw it on her when she traveled, and they showed interest, and she started making deliberate effort to start to export. So you have, number one, people that have no interest in export. Some of them don't even, in their widest imagination, they don't even think of export. In their widest imagination, they don't even think of export. In their widest imagination. And suddenly, someone is calling them from abroad, I love your product. Which is why also, sometimes when you are doing whatever it is you are doing, it's good you do it very well. Because you can never tell who will see this product somewhere and might just be interested from the blues. Just show interest in your product. So you have the unsolicited order. Then you have the next thing is, now that I have unsolicited order, so I'm already knowing that, oh, you mean there is a potential. And on the strength of that, I can explore feasibility of exporting. So now I'm now a deliberate exporter, making conscious effort to export. Remember, I was not interested. I got an order that made me to know that, oh, there's a market, oh, there's a potential. And based on that, I'm now feeling I'm now making effort, a feasibility study to export myself. Then the next thing is to export on experimental basis to a psychologically close country. When you say country as psychologically close, Nigeria, for example, is psychologically closer to United Kingdom than Ghana, Togo, Benin. So you see a lot of export going from Nigeria to UK than our neighbor. Why? We are psychologically closer. Britons colonized Nigeria. French colonized Benin Republic or Cote d'Ivoire. That's why it was ETLS should not have been necessary if we're closer psychologically. In fact, it's so bad in some of these other countries. Okay, let me say it's so bad. We are so different that I was told when I used to work in a bank, and the bank had a branch or some branches in Francophone countries, and he said every afternoon they must have 1 hour break. Work will stop completely. They will take a nap. Some will go home. Some will go and eat. Nothing. As in, this bank is literally shut. You know, in Nigeria, people will still go for break, go to eat, but the bank is still open. So some people will go, some people will come back. When some people come back, some people will go. Some people will go. So in that environment, they are used to that kind of lifestyle. It's now a culture. But Nigeria is just a neighboring country, and that culture is alien to Nigeria. Even though we are just neighbor, having just a border between us, but we are not close at all. We are far away from them in our lifestyle, in our thinking, in our behavior, in our character, in everything. So when people want to export, they think of several countries. So Nigeria, for example, if Nigeria want to export, Nigeria is thinking of United Kingdom and US. United Kingdom and US. Why? To a large extent, we are closer psychologically. And a number of Nigerians are migrated to these places. So when you are thinking now, where do we even have people that can buy the product you sell? So export to on experimental basis to psychologically close country, then experience in this export is gathered. That means a repeat export. So there is now a repeat export. Remember, no interest in export. Number 2, unsolicited order. Number 3, a feasibility study to deliberately now export. Number 4, experimental export to psychologically close country. Number 5, a repeat of the export to the psychologically close country. And lastly, export to countries where you have a longer psychic distance. For the one that was psychologically close, the psychic distance is very close. But now you have a wider or longer psychic distance. You now want to ship to country you don't have any, you're not close in psychology, are psychologically close. Why? You've been able to do conveniently the ones where you are closer psychologically. And because you've been able to do that conveniently, you are now interested in doing others. Why? The comfort to be able to do others came from the experience you have gathered as a result of other shipment or export that you have done. Remember, we are discussing AFCFTA, the what, the why, the how to export to Nigeria, and I'm talking about direct export. Direct export. And I'm talking about the fact that in exporting directly, you might have to do it in stages. AFCFTA is due to start around July, August next year, and only nations that are equipped and prepared will be able to take advantage of that market. Only nations that are equipped and prepared will be able to take advantage of that market. And you know, when I think about Nigeria right now, I'm really bothered, very bothered on our level of preparedness. Because whereas some countries are setting up agencies for AFCFTAs, I think the only thing Nigeria have done is setting up a committee, the National Action Committee, which is not bad in itself, only that I'm asking myself, within the trade environment, and I'm on different platforms that have to do with trade, but I'm not hearing noise. And this was one of the mistakes we made when we did our, what do you call it, ETLS. This is one of the grievous mistakes we made. One of the grievous mistakes we made. And these have made ETLS today not to be a great success, even though with all the potential that ETLS have for Nigerian growth, we've not been able to take advantage of it. And one of the issues that have been raised in the past is the issue of communication, the inability of countries, not just Nigeria now, I'm talking about across board, because the utilization of free trade agreement in many countries are pretty much low, so it's not just Nigeria that is low. But the reason why many people gave is the awareness level is extremely low. The awareness level is extremely low. The awareness level is so low that companies who are supposed to do the export and who has competitive product with great market are not even aware there's something called ETLS. And the reason being that, of course, you know the way typical businessmen think. Most of them are just thinking of what they want to, their business. So sometimes they don't even think of a number of other things they can do to be able to grow the business in terms of market. Some of them just bury their head. Bury their head in the local market rather than thinking of export. And some of them only begin to think of export when they have challenges. Let me give you an example. Nigeria went through recession 2016. 2017, by 18 we're out. But do you know what? Many companies who have been in Nigeria for many years and have always been importing into Nigeria, never thought of export, just consuming Nigerian foreign exchange, and some of them using it for even other transactions that are not eligible, inflating prices and the like, only began to think of export when recession hit everybody and CBN started rationing foreign exchange. CBN started rationing foreign exchange. That was when many woke up to the reality of really thinking of exporting. I'm basically saying that when companies are set up, many of them they're not global in their orientation. But because of AFCFTA now, if you have not been thinking of export, you will be forced to think of export. Because either you like it or not, these guys are going to come into your market. So you had better also begin to look for other markets, because either you like it or not, your market are going to shrink. People are going to come in and take advantage of your market. Question is, are you also going to take advantage that AFCFTA present? And sincerely, that's one of the reasons why we've been having this session, discussing AFCFTA, the what, the why, and how to export to Nigeria. I'll continue in the evening, and I'll be talking about other opportunities available using the direct export. I'll be talking about if you are trying to get a buyer, if you're going to get a buyer at destination, what should you be doing to get a buyer at destination? If you're trying to get a distributor, what options should you explore? What should be the characteristics you should be looking out for in soliciting for partners, either in form of an agent or a merchant in the export market? Thank you very much for listening. See you in the evening, and bye for now.